this case, let's bring this up. So develop budgets, for instance. We could create a process model here. Or we could have, excuse me, I created the wrong model. Actually, what I meant to do is create a workflow model there. So if we go back to here, we can create a workflow model. So you can actually create it that way. And then again, using the inventory and the objects available, we can actually just add the excuse me, this is actually showing the model. We can actually just add the objects directly. Here we go. So for instance, a roll or something like that out onto the palette. But let's go back here. So we have our model here. We have our workspace. Again, this is going to be a customer complaint process. If we go here to our model palette, we can actually start defining some of the various aspects of it. So the source is the starting point. And let's say that actually, why don't we add something else here? Why don't we have a customer complaint system? So this is a system that's actually going to track our customer complaints. So it starts when a customer gets bad service. So it sort of assumes that the bad service has occurred. And then we log customer complaint. In our system, the system records the customer complaint. So this would be a customer complaint record getting recorded. Supervisor is then going to, and I'm going to actually shrink this down a little bit so we can see it a little better. Hopefully that's not too far. So once the complaint is recorded, the supervisor is going to get alerted and review customer complaint. And of course, they are going to take action as a result. Then we're going to have to decide, was the action successful or not? And then let's go ahead and end the process. Okay, now we've got the basic workflow drawn out here, so let's go ahead and start connecting the dots. And to do that, we select our link mode here. And this is kind of a little, here we go. And let's go ahead and connect these. So log customer complaint, system records a customer complaint, supervisor reviews, takes action, and then was the action successful? If it is, we're going to go ahead and end the process. If it's not, we're actually going to go back and take action again. So, and we'll keep repeating that loop actually until we get a successful conclusion to it. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger just for sort of managing our diagram here. And actually you can drag these things around. There's a lot you can do from a formatting standpoint. I won't get too much into that, but let's say we like the way that looks. So really it's just as simple as that in terms of putting the basic pieces together on a workflow model. Again, it's dragging and dropping objects from your palette, whether they're existing actors that are in your system, or creating them on the fly from the palette itself. So again, these are the objects that are available that already exist. So you may have already defined your roles, or you may want to just define a role on the fly and just pull it out here. If you define it this way, it will actually create a role within your it will actually create a role within your inventory. Just going to get rid of that right now. The roles are available, again, could be systems, could be, actors, could be a system, could be a person, could be an organization, the various activities that are involved. One thing we didn't cover is this. Let's go ahead and define a deliverable. And what we can do here is define a deliverable of a complaint record. And you can see it sends the complaint record there. And we can define some aspects of that complaint record. We could also define an event if we wanted to associated with it. And you can see here are some of the events that are already defined in the system. So invalid order, new customers created, something like that. So these are triggers. What we're going to be triggered by is just this activity occurring. And in this case, it's going to send the complaint record. So that's really the basics of how you create a workflow model. If we wanted to, we can look at an interpretation of it. We're not going to see much here because we haven't defined a whole lot of metadata around it, but we can actually get a textual version of it if we'd like. I know we didn't touch on every object, but we touched on most of them here, which are going to be basically the starting point, the ending point, the activities, the connections between the two, and any deliverables or events that are associated with them, any branching actions or decision points, and the only thing we didn't really include here was a junction point. But junction points are going to act just exactly like any other object within Provision. You just drag it out here and configure it. So that's basically it, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that there. So hopefully that gives a basic example of how to do workflow modeling. There's a lot more that really goes into this in terms of understanding the workflow, and of course that's the work that has to be done up front in terms of figuring out what information you need to know in order to create this diagram. And the basic pieces you need to know are who does it, basically who's responsible for the activity, what the activities are, what the process boundaries are, any decision points and logic associated with it, and then just the basic sequencing elements, which is how one activity gets to another. Of course, all of that has to be figured out basically before you can even draw the model. And typically that's a conversation with a process owner or whoever it is that's actually executing it, or I should say one or more process owners. But once you have that figured out, then it's just a matter of actually drawing it. But I don't want to give the impression that just by drawing this we can very quickly put a process together. There's a lot of details here, and really the logic for how a process really works is a very detailed process that includes a lot of discussions with the process owner. And again, the more preparation and advance work that's done before you sit down with the person and then having a good detailed conversation about how this works is obviously going to make drawing the process a lot easier. And then of course, in most cases what you're going to be doing is putting the process together based on the information collected, and then really sitting down with the process owner and going through it with them to make sure that that is in fact how the process works. Beyond that, I think that there's always going to be exception processes or exceptions to the process, and when we get from a process modeling standpoint, you just need to make a decision of how much you want to get into in terms of looking at those exceptions. So with that, I think that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and close this out here and get to the end here. Again, my name is Colin Corbin. You can contact me here